Welcome everybody. We're going to be assembling the Domi Retractable Pergola, and hopefully I'm going to take you step by step. First time assembling it, so I might have mistakes along the way. So if you have any suggestions, make your comments, but I will edit the video, make it as simple as possible, and also comment on probably the shortcuts and so on. What I like about this unit is that it's a non-attached unit, even though it can sit against the wall, but it's non-attached. It will be bolted on the cement here. And the good thing about it, what I like already, is that you can actually, in case it's gonna rain or it's gonna be a windy day or so, or even a storm comes here. We live in South Florida here, and if a storm comes here, move the pergola back so that way the wind doesn't affect it as much as it could if we were to leave it open, or even with rain also, it's pretty damaging with structures that are not necessarily made for that type to withstand that. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So this is the package I received from FedEx. Seems like everything came, or at least the box seems to be in good shape. So I'm expecting for all the parts within to be well, because I know one of the complaints with this unit is when they're shipped out, they come out with a lot of bangs and hits, and people has to do some repairs or try to repair or even return things just because they're banged. Something that I highly recommend is of course go over the instructions. This set of instructions are very visual, so basically get familiarized with the parts, the components that you're going to be working with, and just kind of get a good idea of what you're going to be doing. And I would say just glance over it, be careful, spend your time doing this, because that way your installation is going to be much easier. Just get familiar with the parts, with the things that you have to do. One of the things that you want to make sure that you don't do is tighten up things before the whole pergola is fully assembled. So here are the posts, and if we look at step number one, basically it's all about the post. So I went ahead and dug into the box and identified them just because they were the biggest pieces. They seem to be like 4x4. I suggest just neatly open them up with a knife or something, so that you can still use these pieces for protecting them before you assemble them. You don't want to scratch this. This is the color is black on this one, so you don't want to get scratches on it. I went ahead and pulled out the beams, the main posts, I guess. One thing I suggest is just kind of spread things out and group them. That way it's just easier to work. Keep your work area organized, and I assure you, you're going to be able to get things done a lot easier with the parts at hand. I've got one post that it's a little bent. I think this is not going to be anything critical. So I went ahead and put together one of the posts, part A and A1. I believe that's what they were labeled as. I'll confirm that in a second, but I'll show you how to put it together. I am bringing one of the short pieces, and I'm using this just to protect it again. As I said, use these things to just to keep things from getting damaged. Just something fell there, but basically you have holes here, you have single holes and double holes. So the other side has the same identical. Oh, I just found out that they're different pieces. Actually, I'm in the wrong side of it, so I'm going to go ahead and turn it around, and this is the right side for us to do what we're doing. Again, I've got the double holes here, single hole here, so I got double here, and so basically I just need to put it in, but then I'm gonna have to lift it up to be able to accommodate this into the two pieces so they actually fall properly into place. So here are the posts. They are aligned. With this last one, I had to do something. I didn't have the right tool. I had to use a small screwdriver to kind of, a flathead, to kind of help out, to kind of, for this to pull out and fall in place. Would have used a plastic piece, but didn't have anything at hand, but that's okay. So now I have 1, 2, 3, 4 posts fully assembled, and we're gonna move on to the next portion of the setup. So before I move on to the next thing, I forgot I'm gonna go ahead and put the screws. I've done 2, and remember, I'm not tightening them up all the way. I'm just getting them in. I'm using this tool that came along with it. Screws come with these little caps, and right here I'm just removing the caps and putting them in a little plastic container, just so that way I can go ahead and first of all not misplace any of them, and then just keep them all in a single place. And then later, when I'm done tightening up things, then I will cap them all. Also that helps protect it from the weather. So this is the bottom of each base. Each base has a mounting bracket. Basically that's so that you can attach this to the floor. I went ahead and mounted this one. Just so you can take a look at that. There's 2 screws. I had to, actually I use this tool to gently straighten this up, just because they were bent out of, I guess, transportation, or just, you know, everything is just jammed against each other. So I went ahead and got them straight, and I'm going to go ahead and mount the rest of them. But basically this one, they will have all 2 screws on one side, on each side, and for some reason this one has 4, but you only end up using 2. All right, so now I have we got the beams done, we got the bases, and now we're using parts C1 and C2. It's going to be 5 of these pieces. They go like that, like so. Let me just nicely do it, and make sure that I don't mess up again, because they'll go inside. But basically you need to put 5 of them. All right, so we're back here, and those are the beams that we put together, the base, the bottom brackets, and I went ahead and put together other sections here, and I went ahead and unpacked the rest of them. These are the beams that will go across. All right, so here we go. That's the back of it. That's the long way, the 13 feet. Let me move around a little more here, just to give you a good preview. Basically, there are screws there. Again, if you go through the instructions slowly, no rush, you're going to be able to get to this. And there are the bases of the whole structure that, as the last step, we're going to be screwing into the concrete. So there's one. I'm going to be putting together this other section. That's going to be then the front side. This is the back side that, even though it's flush to the wall, is not attached to the wall. It's attached to the floor. And this is the set of screws that works for this. There's 4 screws to it. It's a little bit different the way the screws go, but I can see why. I like the design too. And this is the other side. It's already up there. Well, I'm fortunate that the space is pretty much, or the depth rather, of this pergola. So I'm just basically leaning the posts there against the fence, and that one is against the wall. All right, so this is the time where we gotta use the ladder. I've got that beam that's gonna go across, and I'm gonna use this second ladder to basically just lay it there, so I won't have to bug my wife. I don't want to be bugging her every moment. Putting the posts up, you probably do need a helping hand. My wife helped me out. This is very light, so it's not like you're asking for much. Here's progress so far. These guys, I went ahead and installed them. Now I made a big mistake, and I'm glad it happened, because that's something that could happen to any of you guys. Right here, I basically inverted this bolt and that pole. So basically they were in the wrong side of it. This pole, I'm sorry, I was pointing and not looking. There you go, that pole and that pole. When I installed them, I wasn't careful enough following the instructions, and the pole that you see there, I installed in the front, and that one went in the back. So I got to actually fix now the bottom brackets, because that one belongs, the one in the front now belongs to the back. But that's an easy fix. It's just a couple screws on each side and swap them around. But you know, these things happen, and for the benefit of those who are going to be watching this video, that could happen to you. So follow instructions closely, because that's basically, and unfortunately I was able to kind of rig it with the ladders, my wife's help, and then actually had to call my mother-in-law to kind of help me out, hold some pieces while I was swapping the two posts, and it all got worked out. But now basically all the top area is put together, and we're going to move to the next section. So we're back out here. It's been raining non-stop here in our area. It's been very unusual for this time of the year. I mean, it rains, but it's not so consistent. Anyhow, because of that, I have already the canopy installed, the top portion of it, and I'm basically going to be pointing out just certain things that happened to me, and tips probably that would be very useful for those who are going to be installing it. The instruction set is not too, it's just missing a few little details, let me put it that way, because the images are fine, but there's just a few details that if there would be in the instructions, it would help out a lot. But let me try to help you out with how what happened to me and how you can avoid it. So basically here I just disconnected, and that's a nice thing too. I wanted to point out, it has magnets. Basically you see a couple of magnets there in the center, a couple sets in the center, and then on the side. So that's a nice thing, because when you open up the actual canopy, it does it feels like it's glued in. It's basically a set of magnets. But now here's the part. When you're building up the canopy, the top portion of it, this is what goes in the front. You'll see the different, this is the only portion of it or the front from the back. You can differ it by seeing that it has those gaps there. And that's actually the front part. That I couldn't see it properly in the instructions, so I ended up flipping or doing it flipped when I first did it. So that was my mistake. It was easily corrected. The other mistake is, and that was me understanding the instructions, was that I built all this on the floor, and I didn't have to. It's better to, this comes in two pieces. Every metal piece here, it's two pieces, and then you join them in the center. And it's better to just, as you go, you put one piece, you join them here in the center, because there's a little bracket for them, a plastic bracket that kind of just prevents it from sagging. So it's got the support on that side, a center support, and the support on the opposite side. So that actually keeps it from sagging or looking weird. So anyhow, just build it. Just once you put it together, you can start from the front or the back, it doesn't matter, and make sure that this the branding of it is facing towards the front and facing down too, because that way you're going to end up putting it together in the correct direction. Not like me, that I ended up having to take it apart. Again, it was not that big of a deal, but I had to spend time, and it was a long installation for me. It's I'm a first time doing this. The other thing that I made a mistake that I suggest you guys, so that you guys don't have to go through the same thing, is separate the screws. Look, I'll be showing you the graphics where the inventory of screws are there. Separate them out. Don't leave them together, because the mistake I made was that I ended up mixing two sizes that were very close to each other, and so it was kind of hard to tell. So I ended up here, I had to end up using the wrong screw. So I'm temporarily using that long screw on both ends, which basically it's what holds the whole piece, the whole canopy attached to the back of the structure. So I'll show you here too. You'll see there's a long screw that should not be there. It should be a shorter one. Went to the Home Depot nearby and they didn't have that screw. It's an M628, and they just didn't happen to have that specific size, so I had to order it. But anyhow, that's easily corrected because I'll just pull these and put the other ones in. But bottom line is be careful with your instructions. As I said, this part of the build was not that clear in the instructions. So, you know, I made my mistakes, but nothing out of the world. It took me a good while to put the whole thing together. I mean, I already got my unit bolted to the floor as well. So that's all good. But again, it took me a long time, but it's a fun project. You know, you want to have at least a day to work on your project. You can always break it into different parts and just do it in a couple days or so, depending on your available time. But all in all, I'm pretty satisfied. Today's not sunny. It's a pretty grayish, rainy day. It probably will start raining again soon. So basically, with these comments, I'm going to leave you. It was a fun project. I'm very, very pleased with what I see. And again, you know, if you have any comments, suggestions, or even questions, just put them in the comments down below. I'll be glad to respond back. All right. Well, this is it for this project.